Even the rule of thumb is, like you always said, is like you can't out-train a poor diet. Trust me, if I could have figured that out, I'd be a billionaire right now. Because if I could figure out how to eat burgers and still, maintain a six-pack, I would have achieved that by now.
Right.
But you have to fuel the body, and then you have to take a look at the individual within itself. I always talk about nutrition, all the different diet types that are out there. It's almost like Batman's tool belt. Like, what tool am I going to use at that time? So like right now during the holiday season, like using carnivore, intermittent fasting, or even like a 48-hour fast or keto is really good, because you already know that you're going to be taking on a higher carb intake and a higher sugar content than normal. So you can kind of get those blood sugars down and control your A1C a little bit better with that.
So you're preemptively striking, like.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually had set out to today start my fasting going into Christmas Day.
Right. But then when you look at working out, this is where I fix a lot of people, because I'm kind of like the result guy, that you've tried everything and you've gotten some progress, but you never achieved what you really want to be at. So like we always take an approach of, we always start with a low inflammatory diet and a combination of elimination diet. But when you're looking at an individual, what I find is like someone's doing keto, and I found this really big when I was working with a bunch of CrossFit facilities doing their nutrition, is the CrossFitters were always wanting to do keto, but their pathway of energy was needed to be through glycogen. So because they're doing high intensity training.
Meaning that they're going to be burning fat and muscle because they're not.
So they're burning
properly to do what they're doing.
Right. So since they're not giving their body glycogen through carbs, the body's then using muscle glycogen to get through the workout. Mm-hmm. So they have this kind of flat, depleted look to them, and they kind of lose strength. So like when you're
like the thin skin and that kind of stuff.
Oh, just like your muscle bellies look flat and shrunk.
Oh,
like you're not even tight. You just like that, almost like that term skinny fat.
Yeah,
kind of look like that.
I use that a lot.
Right. And the big thing with it is like when you're looking at keto, you got to remember protein synthesis over to from glucogen to glucose is a longer pathway and a harder pathway, and so is fat. It's a longer energy source. That's why the body wants that immediate need of the glycogen. So when that pathway is too long, you're going to use muscle glycogen, kind of get that flat look, and that's why they end up kind of being depleted. And if you actually follow all of the top CrossFitters in the world, none of them were doing keto. So when you look at clients and you're going and they're not achieving their results, literally the wrong diet choice they could be doing is the reason why they're not optimizing their results in the gym. Yeah. So, and always, I would say 99% of the time, nobody's eating enough. Like,
because even when you're shredding, you got to working out, you got to feed the right things, right?
Right. And you take, if I just took you for an example, if I put you at a desk job and I put the other person in a construction job, even though the same types of food you would be eating, your caloric needs is going to be completely different. Mm-hmm. Your electrolyte balance is going to be different. Your water intake is going to be different, because in the construction job, you're way more active, you're sweating way more. So you need to replenish all that stuff way more frequently than someone who's sitting at a desk job, exact same person. And then you can take you as an example, and let's say you're pre-diabetic, and then let's say another version of you has an autoimmune. So all that plays a factor in what is the right diet choice for you to go. And then of course, as we go through the year, the one thing that never changes is you always have birthdays, holidays, date nights, guys' night. I just had a bad day and I want a pizza night, So you need to learn how to support your system, or what I always try to teach people is put your body into a place to handle the stress. Mm-hmm. It's like if your day-to-day stress, if you let it build, throughout the day, because you're not managing it either through journaling or self-care, or however you're working out, however you take care of yourself, if you let that stress build throughout the day, then what happens when big stress comes in? That's when you flip out. That's when you
straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, you completely overreact. You're flipping out and just acting unrealistic. Whereas if you manage that stress, then when something big comes in, you can handle it. You can think through it critically. You can make smart decisions instead of rational decisions and everything else. The body's the same way. If you keep putting food into it that is aggravating the gut, then when you do want to have that cheat meal, because of whatever reason it is, that's when the boil over in the stomach happens. That's when you have the bloat, the gas, the constipation. You're breaking out, and you're down-regulating hormones. I mean, it has a whole list of consequences that comes along with it.
Okay, so when I walk into the facility, I see a gym.
Right.
So a lot more that goes into it, right?
Yeah. So Precision, we started back in 2014. Actually, Precision itself started actually back in 2012. It was just me as a trainer renting out space. And then me and Jen had the vision of combining what she did with the aesthetic side with the gym side. And when we opened up, we were just doing personal training. I was heavily into bodybuilding competitions. I was prepping about 80 to 100 people a year. And then she had basic spa stuff. And she was in nursing school at that time. But then since we've evolved, now we have the personal training floor, which is all commercial equipment. That was one thing that I was really hammered in on, because I know when I was running space as a trainer, the one thing I missed about the big box gyms was having access to all the commercial equipment. You know, I was kind of limited down just to like kettlebells, dumbbells, TRX.
So typically when you walk in, it's kettlebells, some mats,
right? And I love
bands and ropes.
Yeah, I love the term when everybody's like, "Well, it's functional training." It's like, well, everything you do is functional. Like, a squat with a dumbbell is no different than a squat with a barbell, a squat with a kettlebell, with a squat with your body weight. It's a squat. You're just using a different piece of equipment to go through it. So that was the big thing, is I really wanted to make sure that our trainers had all access to as much commercial equipment as they did in the box gym, just without having the overflow of the regular clientele coming through for a gym membership. So we're only one-on-one training. That's it. And we do a lot of small group training because of the fact of, one, we can still individualize the session down to the person. So we use a periodization cycle. Every week is a different periodization. So like force failures, force negatives, rest pause, circuits, German volume. We do everything to incorporate slow twitch and fast twitch muscle training. That way the body's balanced. So like if you want to be strong and you need to functionally lift something heavy that one time, you're capable of doing it. If you want to play with your kids, you're not blowing a hamstring out because you're so tight from lifting heavy all the time that you can't do that. So we keep it. Now, if you have a very specific goal, then we train you for that specific goal in general. But for the norm,
for a bodybuilder,
if you want to run a marathon, if you're getting into powerlifting, and
I'd like to be able to dunk the ball again.
Right. So it's like we train you for that, but we have all that commercial equipment to do it on is the big thing. And like I said, it's individualized in a small group, which also builds a really good culture. Mm-hmm. Because if you're in here at the same time on Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, kind of training with your group, then that builds kind of a friendship and an accountability.
Yeah. Because accountability buddies is right.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I'm going to have to steal it. Because it's not just me then calling you or texting you like, hey, where are you at today?
Yeah.
Your group is calling like, hey, where are you at today? You haven't been in. They're checking on you. So there's that accountability side on it.
Well, not only letting them down by not showing up, but also being there to support them, because
100%
a vested interest.
Right. And then there's friendships that are built, inside of it. They go out and they have coffee or they meet up and hang out. So the real big thing too is the fact that it's individualized. The small group training allows us to be flexible on our schedule. Like if you have an 8 o'clock schedule, but you can't make that and you can make 10, then we'll slide you into the 10 group. So we can be flexible on that side. But the biggest thing is just to really create the atmosphere and the environment for people to be comfortable with. Like we have Betsy, who is like 75 years old, came in and was really intimidated of all the equipment. Absolutely loves the equipment. We have people that started out that were 600 pounds and down to like 300 pounds that initially came in and were kind of intimidated because of their weight, but realized that nobody's judging them.
Yeah.
And actually some of those people are the hardest working people in this facility. And they actually motivate other people to train more than what they do. So
I'm always more motivated by individuals that are getting after it, right? It's no better time than now. So, and it's funny, the mindset of a younger me, or just anybody that's immature, which we all went through, versus elder, like, we get older and we look at somebody that is overweight,
right,
going into the gym. My mindset now, I'm sure, like you're describing, is the same as yours. Like, good for you. Like, how can I help you stay motivated?
Correct.
Good job getting after it. Where versus when you're a kid, you're like, oh, what are they going to do?
Right. I mean, remember forever, my goal was just to be as big as I could.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like, now I need to occupy less space occupy less space and more mobility and functionality. So I can bend down and touch my toes without losing my breath or blowing a hamstring.
We're hurting your back. So this is literally like, and I feel like I'm in fairly good shape. I'm standing up there today. I look down to make sure I'm buttoning my pants properly.
Right.
Standing fully erect, straight up, look down just like this, just nothing out of the ordinary. My back pops real loud.
Right.
Makes a weird thing. All my muscles tighten up. I have to immediately get on my bed in a fetal position, roll my hips around to make sure I didn't paralyze myself, trying to button my damn pants up. Like,
and you're like, what happened here?
Yeah. I'm like, when did this start? And if I eat red meat like 3 days in a row, my whole functionality is different.
But yeah, it's, the personal training's there. Then we have dietitians, registered dietitians on that help the whole facility. They augment the spa side too, because, everything starts with nutrition from the end, like I opened up with, you can't out train a poor diet.
Yeah.
We can, you can definitely go, if you really want to be, achieve the best result as far as health. And it is 100% diet and 100% training. Okay. You can't be 100% training and 50% diet. You can't be 50% diet and 100% training.
Yeah.
If you really want to get to where you want to be at. But the big thing too is you got to think about longevity. And that's why I don't like using the fad diets as a base. Again, like Batman's tool belt, we'll use them as we cycle through, depending upon where we need to get to with the client. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is then show the person these tools and tricks, like this is what you do after a holiday, or this is what you do after a vacation, to get yourself optimized, get your gut into a really good place to handle any poor choices you might do along the way. But really teach people like longevity, like this is how you should eat for the rest of your life.
Right.
And what
because helping create habits for a healthy lifestyle,
correct,
is far different than helping you through this diet, helping you achieve a bench of 250, whatever it is.
Correct. I always use money as an analogy when I talk nutrition, believe it or not.
Okay.
Because I think people understand the power of broke way more than they understand the power of being unhealthy.
Yeah.
The power of broke, you feel it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You overspend, you see it in your checking account. You're like, oh crap, how am I going to pay my bill? Car payment. The power of being unhealthy is you really don't know it because the body's always working to fix and do things so you can still do your daily activities and function throughout the day. But the rule of thumb is like, 5-10 years down the road is when you really start to notice. That's when you end up getting something from the doctor saying, hey, did you know you're pre-diabetic? So it's the long game. So just like with your finances, your checks really kind of go into three things. First and foremost, if I'm your financial advisor, I'm telling you XYZ 10 or 20% automatically needs to go to savings for the future. So you have something to retire on. The rest of it, then it's going to go into your hard expenses, your car payment, house payment, hard bills. Whatever is left over is what your fund money is. Mm-hmm. And so I look at nutrition and kind of look at the same way. The first thing you need to be doing is making sure that you are meeting your health needs. Your body composition is something where it's at that you can sustain long term, that your blood panels look good, and overall that you have a clean bill of health. That's priority one.
That's my ability to have a long, healthy life.
Correct.
So longevity is
your
the first
401k
aspect you're looking at. Got it. Cool.
It's like your 401k.
All right.
You don't dump money into a 401k so you can go celebrate your wins in a year and spend half of it.
Right.
So I look at it that way. Then if you have a family, then the second priority order is time with family. And then like with the fund money is your social. So now if you don't have a family, then it's probably going to be social, then time with family. But with family, you're looking at, when do I have date night with my wife or my husband? When do I have to eat pizza with my kids? Because you still need to do that stuff. Because the one thing you don't want to do is get kids so unhealthy that they're afraid of eating food. But I think they're so flip-flopped right now that they're so used to eating unhealthy that when you try to get them eating healthy, they're met with a ton of resistance.
Yeah. And that's a nature nurture thing too. Because
the
way that my first son and I would choose meals when it was every other weekend situation was far different, because then it's like I felt the need to be like, oh, we're going to have fun all the time. Everything's got to be fun because I only get limited time. Fast forward now, my youngest son lives with me full time for the last 2.5 years. So we can't eat like that every night, right? And so he's learned, and he helps me cook. And when he preps things, he's better about it. But he started out with like Brussels sprouts is his favorite side thing, followed closely by broccoli. Right. Or we eat sweet potatoes, or he will, I don't know how many days a week we eat tacos. So he loves tacos.
You can do tacos in a real healthy way.
But that's what I'm saying. And so we use ground turkey and we use peppers and everything else. So it's a different mindset. And I think kids are malleable enough to where if we think about ourselves like that as an adult, how are we creating these habits? And you guys help do that. So precision fitness isn't a place where I'm walking in and I'm just hitting the weights.
No.
You're not going to let me touch this stuff until we have an understanding of what's best for me long term.
Right. So the initial client is going to book a 1 hour consultation.
Okay.
And within that 1 hour consultation, we're getting a medical health history. We're going over the last 6 months. What have you done? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What are your goals? More importantly, what is your why? Mm-hmm. And I dig in on that really deep, because if your why doesn't make you cry, then we haven't hit the real why. Yeah. Because everybody's going to say, I want to look better, feel better. Of course you do. Who doesn't?
Right.
It's do you want to make more money? Of course you do.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to make more money? But what are you willing to do to get to the next level? If you want to go from $100,000 income to $200,000, there's some sacrifice and pain points that need to be met to do that. If you're not willing to do it, then you're not going to achieve it.
Yeah.
If you want to go from this composition to this composition, there's going to be some pain points, and there's going to be some sacrifice that goes along the way to get there. That doesn't mean that it's permanent. I always tell people when they start out with their program with it, nutrition and training, is you are broke right now. I need you to eat as if you're broke. You can only afford what is on that plan that we're going to give you for the next 2 weeks. We bring you back in, we measure you, figure out what's working, what's not working, and then we readjust your plan based on the symptoms. And then, is there an increase in hunger? Is the hunger the same? Has it been too much food? Of course, the one big always thing that comes in is variety. Mm-hmm. And I think we can honestly say and be truthful with each other, you've had enough variety in your life up until this point to where you can cut some variety out. Yeah. To get to where you want to be at. And if you don't, then I know that we have not hit the strong enough why at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. And variety doesn't, I think the thing that people miss, or at least something that I'll speak on my behalf, because I'm not a mental health expert by any means, or a nutritionist. There's a lot of different things I can do with chicken. People are always oh, how many times can I eat chicken and broccoli or chicken and rice? Well, there's a lot of flavors you can add to chicken. Right. So in my purview, what I've learned is I have a lot of different types of dishes between ground turkey, chicken, and red meat. I ate a lot of red meat too. And prior to that, I never thought in that process. I was very narrow-minded because I didn't have somebody like you to show me the way. And I think a lot of people are like that when I see things on social media, food prepping, blah, blah. And it's literally just bland chicken, white rice, and broccoli. And it's well, no wonder you're not having fun with it, because this isn't a sustainable lifestyle.
No.
This is a fad.
And it's I always push back on people. I'm what's your favorite restaurant? And they'll tell me, do you get the same thing every single time, or do you order something different every time you go there? Yeah. I'm no, I get the same thing. I'm yeah, you get two. Yeah, probably two of your favorite at most. Yeah. 3 is going to be the extreme. But that's why you go to different places. Mm-hmm. You have your favorite Italian place, you have your favorite Mexican place, you have your favorite steak place. But you're going there and you're basically getting the same thing.
I don't even look at the menu at First Watch.
Capitol Grill knows exactly, everybody there knows exactly what I ordered. Yeah. I don't even have to tell them. They just, there you go. Yep. So it's that's where you come down with the base. We try to find at least 2 to 3 to 4 main meals that you can cycle through on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it, the variety comes in, like we were talking about, birthdays, holidays. You just want to have a night where you just don't want to have that, you'd make it. But the biggest thing always comes back to it is your gut health in a place to take it. Have you been following everything to a point to where you're digesting food the way you need to? Are you going to the bathroom every single day? Is everything digesting in a way that means yes, then that means you can handle a free meal, if you want to call it that. If you're having gut issues and doing anything, it's like having all that stress. The last thing you need is some big coming in. So it's not worth it at that point to then tackle with a cheeseburger or pizza, because you're just going to cause more trouble within the gut.
So if individuals out there who are listening or watching have had issues or run-ins in the past where it's just not working, or this isn't it, there's a reason why you probably charge a little more than a Club Fitness, and that's because it sounds like, and from what you're describing, and I'm sure people who come here realize this, you're not trying to help people lose weight. You're trying to help people live a happy, healthy, sustainable life through longevity, knowledge that you have, and you're not just letting people come in. Probably the best way to look at it from an outsider's perspective, what I would say is precision is quality over quantity.
I would always say everything that we do is to the individual specifically with precision. Like I said, it's you might not be able to do back squats, so we just find a different exercise. It doesn't mean we take you away from the German volume training that week. We just put you in an exercise, replace that exercise with something that you can do versus something that's going to wreak more havoc on the body than not. So that's always kind of the big thing with it is we customize everything to the individual on that side.
Excellent. And where can people find you guys if they're looking to change their life for the better?
So we have our website at precisionlife.io. My IG is at the Jamie Speiser. On TikTok, it's the same as for as long as we have it until the 19th of the year.
I wonder if that'll go through though.
We
were supposed to have real IDs to travel years and years ago, and it's still like, well, next May. May.
It's just like, it is what it is. But, and that's the biggest thing, like with the company in itself is like, I've been an advocate and a voice speaking out against big pharma and mainstream nutrition for quite a long time. It's, for me, the first line of defense is exercise and diet, not prescription medications. I'm not saying that prescription medications aren't needed.
Sure.
But I don't think it's the first line of defense.
Yeah.
I think, perfect example, I just had this come up with a client. They came in and said that they were pre-diabetic and need to get on metformin right away. And I'm like, well, what test did they run? Like, well, they checked my blood sugar right there. I'm like, so you're pre-diabetic because they checked your blood sugar at 11 o'clock in the morning. One time. I'm like, did they ask you what you ate?
Right.
And they're like, nope. I'm like, how do they know you didn't have ice cream before you went in there? It's like
the day after Halloween.
Yeah. It's just like, so it's like, the one in big pharma and mainstream is doctors and nutrition is everything's written by big pharma. So the medication's the route, but it's really disappointing to know that they're not doing the proper testing to get the full clinical picture from the get-go. That's even what we see relevant. Well, I say what really differentiates precision medicine that we do here versus any other places that we look at it from first you have to fix the gut, then you have to fix the adrenals, then you have to work on the thyroid, then you can address the hormones first and last. Because if everything is being downregulated hormonally because of poor nutrition, lack of exercise, then is it really a hormone issue or is it other issues that are causing it?
Right.
And I understand that some people will say, well, you got to get the hormone levels up first so they feel better, and then that gets them going. It's like, yeah, you can do the same thing by getting up and moving, and working out. Like right. You don't need a testosterone shot to justify getting out of bed to go work out. Like your testosterone will naturally rise just because you're working out and doing cardio.
Yeah, your body knows. We need to pump more of this.
Yeah, so that's always the big part with that. We have our podcast, Younger by the Minute. That's where me and Jen really go on her. That's where she's like the brains and I'm the dumb it down guy for you. She talks on a very medical level and I bring it down where people can maybe relate a little bit more, but then I can also talk a lot more off label about hormones, nutrition, and peptides more than she can because she's more on the medical level than I am.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to meet with us today and hang out and tell all of our listeners and followers a little bit more about precision. And if you're looking to change your life for the better and not just get in the gym, this is a perfect time to do it. We got a lot of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
I think that I certainly would back you guys in what you do here just from what I've learned. So appreciate taking the time.
Thanks for having me on.
It was a pleasure. All right. Appreciate it.